celebrating?
You know, the way I like to look at it is this way. I'm not somebody who is easily excited.
Okay.
I do a lot of evaluation. And I'm looking at Nigeria as a human being, a 65-year-old person. And you do like a life reflection. Maybe you have a wife, you have a husband, you have kids, your household. You are 65 years. You look at your career, you look at your business. If this country right now is the way your family is, how will you feel? Just before we came on, you had the unfortunate advert of a missing child. I was looking out for a business person to wish his or her customers happy Independence Anniversary. All the adverts you played were from government agencies and government officials.
Okay.
Yeah. I checked, I was listening to all the adverts. The only person I can wish happy anniversary is JFM, because you made a lot of money from those adverts. But for the Nigerian out there, I don't see anything that's happy about 65 years. Because I see 65 years as a human being. I'm 62. And I'm looking at, if I'm 65 and the citizens of Nigeria, if we can call them citizens, are the way they are, if they are my kids, will I be happy? If my kids live in Kwara State, will I be happy? If they live under this, you know, when I got to Jos about 28 years ago, if I'm traveling to Abuja, it takes me like 2.5 hours. Now it's about 4.5 hours, if not 5. So, you know, we're easily excited in Nigeria, and we live in this kind of bubble. I'm sorry, I'm not, maybe I might be, my statement can be a downer, but I'm a leadership consultant, and I believe that the first assignment of a leader is to paint reality. This is not worth celebrating for 65 years.
For you, it's not worth celebrating.
It's not for me.
Okay, for Nigerians, it's not
you
worth
know,
celebrating.
if I speak for me, all the things I've benefited, I live in the particular generation in Nigeria where I went to primary school, which was free. I went to high school. None of my siblings that were born in the 60s and 70s went to private school, right? I went to University of Lagos when I had 3 good square, hyper square meals. I have a dessert. But when I look at that, I can't use myself to compare with somebody who was born maybe in 1980. And those are the people in the majority. 90s, you had the unfortunate story of a young girl who came to Nigeria from the UK. You know, the Arise TV lady, Somi, who just died senselessly.
Of course.
And then we wake up on October 1st and we're saying that we're celebrating freedom. I have a totally different definition of freedom.
Now, from your word, it actually means Nigeria have retrogressed,
Absolutely.
over time.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, there are some index, that we can actually look at and say that, the one way or the other, we've seen progress. Looking at the population itself, maybe back then we were around 20 to 13 million, but today we're over 200 million, though not confirmed, by the National Population Census Commission. But at the same time, let's look at the fact that as Nigerians, we keep, we actually do certain things. As individuals, they will tell you we grow. But as a nation, will you want to say we were far better off than we are today?
Better off when?
In terms of economy, in terms of governance.
Are you looking at population growth as,
I'm talking about
an index to measure development?
Probably.
No. Population growth can be positive, it can be negative. But for us, I think it's been largely negative. 200 million people, maybe an estimate. What's the benefit? 200 million people should be 200 million human capital. Can we say that we have had, intentional, deliberate, measurable human capital index in Nigeria? How many Nigerians are even employed? How many are engaged? How many are, I drive through the city of Jos. Jos will be about maybe a little over 1 million. You see people on the road by 11:30 in the morning, absolutely doing nothing. Look at the level of unemployment. And when it comes to index, index is just for optics. Index is for TV. Index is for radio programs, for analysis. Talk to an ordinary person on the street, right? Talk to an ordinary, we are not living, there is no human dignity in this space. Nigerians, one of the interviews that the advert that you aired, the person greeted the resilient people of Plateau State. That can be looked at in many ways. Our resilience will be commendable if it are translated into putting pressure on those who are supposed to provide, basics, for the citizens, if we are putting their feet to fire. But it's not happening. I had a younger sister who left this country and came back for about, he was away for about 10 years, from maybe like 1991. He came back maybe like 10 years after. And her observation said, we drove through the streets of Lagos. I didn't see anybody smiling. And I saw a guy, a full-grown man with a basin of oranges on his head. He said that didn't happen 10 years ago. Hawking oranges. So I'm sorry, I'm coming like I'm a downer, but I'm just kind of painting reality. I think the only people that can celebrate today are those who have actually benefited from government largesse.
Like who exactly? The appointees and others.
Maybe their relatives, and those who have been able to benefit from government patronage. I'm so, you see, personally, I won't tell you that I am directly involved in that because I am just privileged. I'm just fortunate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but now I want us to take a quick look at this very well. Are we looking at this situation now from the aspect that probably one of the major problems we've had has been changing governance? That we've seen over the years.
Changing governance.
Okay. When Nigeria got independence at first, the Prime Minister was Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, and we also had the President then, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, all of them of blessed memory. And, the military took over. From military, we went back to civilian rule. And, of course, the military came back again. An election in 1993 that didn't hold water. Going further, till 1999 until date. During the military era, one could actually point into a lot of infrastructure,
Absolutely.
a lot of refineries, a lot of things that we actually work
Absolutely.
in. But
You're right.
today, we can't actually. So should we actually say that the change in governance was the major problem we had? Or let's say the psychic of governance which we had is not really working for us?
I've done a lot of writings on the system of government in Africa. And I've engaged in a lot of thinking about that, debates and all of that. For us, let me limit it to Nigeria. For us in Nigeria, we don't really have any meaningful change in governance. The only thing that's different with the military was that they rule by fiat. They rule by, there's no legislation and things like that. And that's why they could provide some sort of, infrastructural kind of development. The difference and I like the way that you called it civil rule, because it's not democracy. It's civil rule. It's just change in attire. They just morph from khaki to Babangida. It's the same kind of person. And that's why you see that the people that we read about in our history books are the same that we read about in our newspapers. I was a teenager in 1979. Obasanjo was head of state. 20 years later, I was already a dad on my way to becoming a granddad. He was president again. So what are we talking about? What change of governance are we really talking about? You see, we need to speak the language that a guy on the street can understand. There's no change of governance. We talk about elections. Do we really have elections in Nigeria?
I should ask you. Because I know you're an electorate.
I'm not an electorate.
You don't vote.
I voted last for when Jang was coming in.
Okay,
that was the last time I voted. That was when Ribadu and I voted for Ribadu and Adeola, because Adeola used to be my boss when I was in the banking industry.
Okay.
So I could say that, okay, you understand corporate governance. Maybe you can translate that to public service. So that was, I don't And let me tell you, I've spoken in this station before when I spoke against the whole idea of getting a PVC, getting all those kind of things. I said, this is just a ploy to commit fraud, because I don't need a paper, a document to vote. I need me to vote. The basic infrastructure to have credible election is not there, and it's not due to ineptitude. It's not due to ignorance. It's deliberate. If I have a driver's license, if I have my school ID card, and the school is registered, if I have an ATM card, if I have maybe international passport, I have BVN, I have NIN. Why do I need a PVC to vote? If there is a national database, they should know when I turn 18. So those kind of elections, and I got my confirmation. I was privileged to sit with to share a seat with a minister, with a federal minister on a flight. And this is what he said when I was talking about elections. He said, if I have paid to get into office, what do I still owe the people? Those were the words of this federal minister. I won't state the year. This guy was a federal minister of police affairs. So I'm not talking something out of the blues. I sat with him on the plane. He said, if I have paid, so if you have reduced, if you have, impacted negatively on the people to be able to get 5,000 and get them to thumbprint in a certain way, you've weaponized poverty, the way we say it. Then the guy said, I don't owe them any other thing because I paid to get into office, so I need to recoup my investment. This is the reality, my brother. We can't say there's been any kind of election in Nigeria.
So are you saying as it stands currently, election does not matter?
Election doesn't matter.
In Nigeria leadership?
No. That's why they can rubbish citizens, because they know they don't need them. That's why somebody will come, somebody was discussing with me before we came on air that a legislator said that is against state police and all those kind of things. And that how can somebody say it's against state police when state policing will actually help his people? I said he doesn't really care about his people. Politicians who care about the people are those who need the people to get into office. They don't need the people to get into office. Right? In a situation where, and I think it was maybe like an Islamic kind of program that happened on maybe one of the TV stations recently, when a clear-headed, scholar was talking about elections in Nigeria.
Yes.
And what I took away from what he said brilliantly was that if I'm the coach of a football team, I'm paraphrasing. If I'm the coach of a football team or the owner of a football club, and I choose the referee of a match. So if the president of a country is the one who appoints the head of INEC and is going to be a candidate, he who pays the piper will still dictate the tune, even if the guy doesn't want him to do it. He will want to please his master. So, my brother, how long are we going to keep deceiving ourselves? 65 years of what? Independence? Are we really not still colonized? Because I was talking off air to this about police. The Nigerian police is still largely a colonial police.
So you mean there should be a reform that will actually re-strategize the police?
That's what we need. Re-strategize almost everything. Almost everything.
When you mean everything, what exactly do you mean by everything? Because the police came on board before the military actually did.
The police in Nigeria is still a colonial police. The police as designed by the colonial masters was to subdue the populace, to keep them in line.
Wow.
That's what we still have. We still don't have a police that serves the people. When you see a policeman on the street, how do you feel? Do you feel safe or feel threatened?
Threatened.
That's
usually.
it. That's it. In other climes, the easiest person to approach on the street, maybe to get a road direction, it's a policeman. I studied in the US, and I can tell you that the best car to buy as a second hand is a car used by the police. Yeah. So we're talking about, we live in the same space with other nations in the world. by now, we should even have local government police, not just state.
That this community policing should
I'm
actually
telling
be what's
you.
happening.
Yeah. So when we have a federal police and you call a governor the chief security officer of the state and he doesn't control the police, he doesn't manage the police, what are we talking about? I think it was the governor of Zamfara State who came out recently that if he has the authority and the power, he will stop insurgency in, I think he mentioned, few hours. Yeah, that's the governor of a state speaking helplessly. Who should be clamoring for state police? Governors. But they don't want to talk about it. They don't want the responsibility. They love, I've been on, I don't want to go too direct. I've been on a flight from Jos to Abuja many times. It's the most expensive flight in Nigeria and it's the shortest. Right? If I've traveled on that flight 5 times, 4 times our governor is on it.
Wow.
Our governors are always in Abuja.
True.
They go there, so we don't have governance that serves the governed. We just have rulers. That's why you never see somebody who served Nigeria. The refrain is what? He ruled Nigeria, ruled Nigeria, ruled Nigeria. And when Tinubu came in, I don't know what he spoke on his speech today because those speeches have just become like there's a speech inside a drawer in Aso Rock. When it's October 1st, they just draw it out and read it. I didn't hear his speech today, but I know it's going to be different from what we've had over the years. When Tinubu came in, I said it could go either way, right? It could be election. I remember I wrote an open letter to him when I think it was a governor then or something, or that I think it was when a statement passed in Germany. I've forgotten the guy's name now. And the guy was celebrated globally. And I said, Mr. Tinubu, you can learn from this guy. Yeah, this guy is a statesman. What do you want to be known for? A guy who knows how to win elections or a guy who knows how to serve his people? And what you campaigned for, what you clamored for, why you are an activist, should be translated into a policy.
But has that been the same?
Devolution of power.
But has that been the same?
No, because it won't make him, in the middle of all of this, maybe I should sound a little bit hopeful.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe.
Nigerians like that. Happy New Day, Happy New Month, and all those kind of things. My hope is that very likely he might win a second term. And second term, when he's not going to be seeking a third term, maybe he can go back to his agenda of regionalization. He's nitpicking on it. He's mentioned it here and there.
But that has never happened. We're going to get to see president come for second term and go back to his agenda. It has never happened.
Because by that time, the assumption is that he's no longer looking for votes.
Of course.
He can now do something that serves the people. He can do something that out of his heart. If we don't have sincere regionalization, if we don't have state police is a no-brainer. I don't care if you say governors are going to abuse the police. They won't do anything worse than what the federal government is doing with the police. It's on record that the current Inspector General of Police is supposed to have retired.
Of course.
The lawlessness in this country. And you can't have, I was privileged that the immediate past vice president is a close friend of mine. And I'm going to say that on air. And the first time we discussed that he likely might be VP, this is the only thing I told him. He said, if you are going to have a legacy, reform the police. You can't have laws as good as it is being enforced. The only country on earth, my brother, that has a law-making body like state legislators and don't have, law enforcement agency is Nigeria. State legislators make laws.
Of course.
That's why you see in this state and in Benue State, they passed anti-grazing bill. I live in Rayfield, right? Cattle still, they work out on the road.
But the major problem is not about them making the laws now. Just like you said, in enforcement now.
There is no police to enforce it.
The security to enforce it is not in the hands of the governors.
So what are we talking about, my brother? You are just agreeing with me.
Yes.
So it's not, I don't know why. Did you see any private person The guy is selling provision in terminals, wishing Nigerians happy independence.
Not really.
It's not possible. The guy will come and pay GFM to put out an advert. There is no happy independence for the normal, ordinary, the way we call it, the common people. There is no happy independence. The only people that can say happy independence because they are not spending their money to pay GFM to run the adverts. So GFM, happy anniversary, happy independence, because you benefited. You ran a lot of adverts for over 10 minutes.
All right.
I'm beginning to put Naira into that.
All right, I think we'll draw the curtain at this very point. This was so fast. I wish, would have added more time to it, but unfortunately, this was just fast. Just to read this one before I go. Happy to hear Dr. Reju speak about Nigeria and its issues on his extended version, and of course, happy independence to a lot of people. Thank you so much for being part of the program. So, just like you said, is this really happy enough? Maybe one will brainstorm on.
Yeah. For me personally, I feel for Nigerians, it's not happy.
It's just an Independence Day.
It is just, I even want to qualify the word independence. From what? Because the current politicians just replaced the colonial masters.
And still having the same thing on board.
Absolutely.
All right, so this is just the much insights we can bring to you, to Dr. Reju. He just mentioned that there is nothing to be happy about. We are rather retrogressing than prospering. This is just how we'll bring it to you. Many thanks for joining the program this morning. Do out to stage and other program will be coming your way today, being the 1st of October. This is not the size, but of course we'll be having lots of packages for you today on J101.9 FM. So if I were you, I want to move an inch. Let's talk Nigeria. My name is Richard Badung. Bye.
You're listening to
JFM 101.9.
If it's not giving, then it's not J. JFM, giving all day.
Stand as a people with one song, with one voice.